is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 157. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, Austin, Texas. Sunny today, rainy last night. Second home game with some serious weather in a row. But unlike that previous one, Austin FC comes out victorious. I'll ask you as I always do. How you feeling, my friend?
I am definitely quite tired. Those weather delays push the game into the very, very late hours of the evening for us. But man, that was one of the best games I've been to this season, maybe of all time. It was awesome.
Oh boy.
It was such a great game. I had so much fun. We got to see so many people that we hadn't seen in so long. A shout out to Aggie for the Spread Verde fan hookup. That was awesome. Our buddy Jesse coming through with the beer delivery again. This guy is just incredible, man. And, to see G kind of being a time machine and going back to prime Giassi's artist and being able to watch that and see it up close. It was awesome. I got a soft spot for G here and everything. And I was definitely nervous about him going 90 as can be heard on the last couple episodes here where we were pondering if he was actually going to be able to do that. And he passed with flying colors. It was just an incredible game. So I am doing very well, but tired.
Yeah, man. Same here. It was definitely a late one. And I think we've got our new routine for any game that might come with a weather delay. Hit one of the restaurants locally there with some of our buddies. Man, shout out to Damon for the tickets, allowing us to bring a couple friends, right? Yep. Bring my dad, his first game since 2022. And we were pretty good in 2022. So maybe some of those vibes creeping in last night. I don't think he has seen a loss at Q2 Stadium. I might be mistaken, but either way, man, great night. A lot of people after the game too that we got to see, like you said, because we'd only been there once since May. Right, for that LAFC match, and it was raining cats and dogs when that one concluded. So not a lot of people hanging out after that one. So great night. We'll recap the NYCFC match here. We'll also have some last business day. Of course, we'll talk the nonsense at the end. We got to check in on the best keeper in the world. It's been a couple weeks since we talked about our boy. So we have an update there as well. Before we get into this afternoon's episode, just want to remind you all, the best thing you can do to support the North End Podcast is to download this episode wherever you get your podcasts. That helps us out on the ad side. And then, of course, other things you can do for us is rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button helps us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So heading into Saturday's match, we knew that the Venezuelan national team bowed out in penalties of the Copa America on Friday night. So official injury report comes out from the league about 4 or 5 p.m. Central on Friday. Along with that comes the MLS disciplinary report, right? And we know we've discussed at length for weeks, waiting on Danny to come back, knowing that he had a 1-game suspension to serve for yellow card accumulation. Danny was listed out on the team's availability report, and he was not listed on the league's disciplinary report. Diego Rubio was. So our working theory in yours and mine's text messages was there's probably some sort of roster deadline where, the team has to submit the active roster. And if Danny is still on international duty, there is a little section in the competition guidelines called suspension manipulation, game suspension manipulation, I believe is what it says, which outlines the timing for international players who are called up when they can and can't serve those suspensions. So didn't have really full clarity on that until right before we took off up north to Q2, checked that disciplinary report, or had somebody kind of, say, hey, that's updated for Sunday's games. As we're sitting here on Sunday afternoon, 6 games, mostly Western Conference teams playing here tonight. So the standings will shift once again. But on that updated report, Danny Pereira listed suspended. So he did, in fact, serve his yellow card accumulation suspension last night against NYCFC. And that is fantastic news, because having Danny at home next weekend against a team that we have never beat at Q2, Seattle Sounders coming to town, Danny expected to be back in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, we started off with a real win. That was the first win of the night, getting that news with Danny and everything. I know that we were super excited. Obviously, we understand how different this team looks when he is out there on the field, and I cannot wait to get him back. And the fact that he got to serve that suspension, we get the win last night, and he is ready to go for these last couple of matchups here before we get to break is just fantastic.
Let me get the lineup, of course. Zardes in up top, as coach told us on Wednesday. He did get Johan Valencia back in the midfield. And then it was Owen Wolff on the wing once again, instead of Ethan Finlay. So I believe those were the only 2 changes from things or positions that we were, that were in question on our Wednesday episode. So Stuver, Gallagher, Heinzike, Väisänen, Biru, Ring, Valencia, Obrian, Wolff, Driussi, and Zardes. Then you get your double keeper, Bersano, Cleveland on the bench, along with Kolmanich, Cascante, who's back and active as expected, Finlay, Hedges, Farkerland, who played the previous night, as did CJ Fodre, both of those guys active on the bench, and Hector Jimenez. So any thoughts on that lineup? It was mostly as expected, save the Owen for Ethan.
Yep. When you're this thin, it's not that difficult to predict these lineups here. So nothing out of the ordinary, totally fine with it. And the Punisher, man. I don't know what else to say, man. He's he's out there, and it looked a little different, but we got the job done, and I'm excited to talk about this match and get into the weeds a bit in regard to the criticisms we had of this team in our previous matchup, and how those things looked much different last night, almost completely different. So definitely excited to get into it. Fine with the lineup, and it was a good one.
On the NYC side, as we had speculated, after watching them play on Wednesday against CF Montreal, injuries to Morales and Risa, both of those guys were out as well. So slightly shorthanded team, but again, this roster, like we talked about, very well built, very complete, and a lot deeper than us. So at the beginning of this match, again, I think about a 90-minute delay, ultimately, right around 9 p.m. was the kickoff there. And early on, the Pigeons, as they're known, controlling the pace and possession in these early moments. And in the 5th minute, a really good ball from Keaton Parks to Tavon Gray down the right side there, headed towards the south end. He plays Hannes Wolff. There's 3 Wolves out there on the pitch and on the touchline last night. So Hannes Wolff, and it's Wolf with 1 F there. He pops it right back to Gray from the inline, and Tavon Gray whips a ball into the 6-yard box. And I thought, very nice placement by Gray here. It was a very good ball. And then Andres Pereira cuts across the face of John Gallagher here. That back post on that right side has been an issue for us all season. It continues here. And Pereira, credit to him, man, for a pretty solid finish here. I thought it was a well-deserved goal, and it was a deflating start for, I think, all involved wearing Verde and black last night.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. The ball is fantastic. It was a phenomenal ball by Gray there, and a great finish. Doing the rewatch and watching the size difference between him and Johnny was actually quite funny to me. But this continues to be an issue for us, and I'm watching this play, the replays again over this morning and everything, and just the awareness for Johnny, like the spatial awareness, trying to understand where this man actually is. I'm confused. because like we've talked about, this has been an issue for some time now. And not that I thought that he might have been able to make some like fantastic play on this to prevent the goal, because it was a great ball and it was a great strike. But just to have the face cut like right on him, no body contact, that's just not really acceptable to me.
I imagine it's poor defense when that's in the film room. This week. Hey, we got a new right back coming in about 13 days.
That's true.
And we saw, we'll talk about Johnny and his flexibility that was on display in this game. But continuing on here, obviously, again, I can only imagine those that waited out the rain delay in the stands. Like, we were deflated, as we always are when we get scored on. But, yeah, sucked the life out of the stadium. And it almost got a lot worse soon after that, because in the 12th minute, off an Austin corner kick here, multiple players come together going for a ball at the back post, kind of right in front of us there in the north end. And Tavon Gray goes down holding what looked like his calf. NYC goes the other way. They end up winning a corner, and then play is stopped. Mitja Ilinic ends up coming on for Tavon Gray after about a 3-minute delay there. Then NYCFC off that corner. Keaton Parks, again, great low cross in across the face of net here. And Alonso Martinez close to that back post again. Really should have put this one away for a second goal. So, again, there is luck involved, maybe more so in this sport than any that I have dove into as a fan or a player or a coach, whatever, throughout my life, man. Austin, very lucky to not be down 2-0. And if you're down 2 at that point, look, I mean, they scored 2, but it would have, it would have gotten bad, I think.
I mean, I was right there. I think that's might be one of the reasons why I said at the start of this episode, this is one of my favorite games, because I thought we were about to get ran out of this building right from the jump. Stuver didn't have a chance in the first one, wouldn't have had a chance on this one. It's just a bang, bang kind of play. And fortunately he missed, but it was quite concerning to see how this game started to play out for Austin. But I do think we made some pretty solid adjustments. You see Johnny start to get unleashed a little bit. We've been asking for some sort of aggressive play style after conceding a goal. And you start to see it a little bit here as Johnny gets unleashed, but very fortunate to get out of this one, to not be scored on for a second time here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's why you play until the final whistle, right? As bad as it can feel in the early moments there, that resiliency, that character that we were looking for, right? I don't think we need to wait to the end of the match to say this.
Yes.
For me, the mentality, I do think we came out a little bit soft in terms of not being physical enough. You mentioned Preya just being able to cut across the face of one of our defenders right in front of the net. Nobody makes any contact. And through the first 20 minutes, man, it was right around 75-25 possession for New York. But again, when you look at the game from the full view, once everything was all said and done, I am happy with what I view as a response from this team to what happened on the road last week.
It's just so odd, because it's almost Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde here with what this team looked like last week on the road at Sporting. And to show up in this game and then be scored on early, I felt like there was definitely potential for the wheels to really fall off. So I thought the response was great. Once we give up that first goal, you see Johan kind of pissed off, guys looking around, but we didn't see that same kind of moaning and complaining and kind of finger pointing and that kind of stuff. It seemed that we kind of galvanized and decided hey, all right, we got punched in the mouth. There's still 70 minutes of game left here. Let's go out and do our best to try to get this level. And then it starts to come here. The tide starts to shift quite a bit, actually.
Well, one thing I remember after going back to the 5th-minute goal, the player who got the ball and ran it to midfield was Jassy Zardes. Again, that's a little small thing, but that's a little bit of leadership right there. Come on, boys, let's get it started again, right? Yeah, we got even more work to do.
Absolutely.
16th minute here, Austin does extremely well on this possession, playing it out of the back. And really the first sign of life here from the home team. Multiple slick passes and some good movement, and especially the movement by Biru on this play at the back to get into space and really break that first line of the New York pressure. Because again, we were looking at some of those defensive sequences, right? Some of that like pressing data. NYCFC top 3 in the league pretty much across all of those metrics. And we know how we handle presses or don't rather. But right here, again, great. We break 2 lines. Biru, good job. John Gallagher ends up getting space on the break. He's spreading it out wide. Alex Ring, John Gallagher here is getting space out on the break out wide. Bodies in the box, serves it in, finds the foot of Giassi Zardes near the top of the box, and G able to kind of slide it on to Obrian, who's charging in on the left, but Freeze also rushing the ball here, making the target smaller, making himself bigger, and Obrian not able to get it past the NYC keeper out for a corner, which NYC clears out. And then all of a sudden, they're on a 3-on-2 break. And once again, we are very lucky that Alonso Martinez loses his dribble and then bails Austin out with a soft pass that is ultimately turned over. But again, we liked seeing that build up. That was really the first time since the opening minutes that the crowd was able to get into the match, because look, even louder when you're down is great, but you got to give people something to be loud about. And this was the first sign of life.
Yeah, no, it was actually really nice to see this kind of continuation of passes going forward and allowing us to kind of relieve some of this pressure. I don't see how Obi could have scored a goal here. This was a great defensive anticipatory move by Freeze to get into position. Would have been a very, very difficult angle to try to put anything past him there. So I do applaud the effort and like response once again, where it was like, okay, boys, we're here. Let's do this thing. And yes, we did get very fortunate on that breakaway that, that was not how they wanted that to go.
Yes. 25th minute here. And again, Austin, after that, little spark in the 16th minute, kind of turning the momentum of this one in the past few minutes. Great ball from Driussi to Owen Wolf on the backside of this play. And Owen brings it down nicely, but then can't convert on a little half volley attempt as it's blocked out for a corner. Nothing comes from that corner, but Austin stays in possession. And then Seba finds some space from about 25 yards out and uncorks a shot that forces a parry by Freeze. And I have in the notes here, I see you shaking your fists, excited. My note in the notes here is excited in section 1, 2, 3. Because you immediately were like, yes, even though he didn't score, that's what we need out of our best player.
I know he doesn't listen to the pod, so I can't take any sort of credit for him, uncorking some shots here. But this is the first of 2 that I was very, very happy with, because again, it gets us a corner. He wasn't able to get, Freeze isn't able to control that ball, save it, gets us another possession. We can set up a little set piece here. Again, opens the defense up a little bit. And he is a player who commands respect, and you have to account for him. And when he's a bit more passive trying to distribute, I just think that it limits him and what he's actually capable of doing. And especially given the fact that we don't have multiple guys who can just tee stuff up from outside of the 18 and actually put it on frame, which he does here. So
for 2 more weeks.
I was super thrilled that he took this shot. And I'm not expecting him to take shots every time from outside the box and score goals, but I want to see their defense have to account for that. So I thought it was a great decision.
30th minute, pretty amazing bit of skill from Santi Rodriguez here to get out on the break. Dekes around 3 separate Austin defenders to open things up, and then the Punisher of all people catches up to him. Both of them go to ground. Play continues for a moment and then quickly stopped after the head official realizes that Santi Rodriguez is bleeding profusely from his brow. This is something we could not see live. I thought it was maybe some sort of concussion thing, because then he comes up with the wrap, and I think, we didn't know that he was bleeding, and you go, when he pops back up, he has a headband on. I was like, I don't think he's been wearing that, dude. So looked like maybe even a little bit of a stitch job or a glue job there, and then the little head wrap. But talk about getting punished.
Exactly that. And hey, man, you called for that too as well, where you were like, I need to see Rodriguez on the ground, particularly from the Punisher. Not that we're trying to make the guy bleed from the head or anything like that, but we were trying to be physical with him. And that's when you started to see a bit more of a shift here, where the physicality from our side started to ramp up a little bit. And I've never seen a headband in soccer before, but then I'm watching the Euros and Memphis Depay has the headband on, and I'm like, what is this man doing? I feel like that would really impact your ability to get solid contact with a header.
Yeah, well, he's he looked. I said Memphis looked like he was going up to like the Seattle Pro-Am or something in the summer for some run. So we end up with 7 minutes of stoppage here in the first half. 2 lengthy injury delays there, and of course the opening goal. 2nd minute of stoppage time here. Austin, I think, still controlling things in the latter part of the half, if I recall correctly. I have the stats right here, so I can just see. Yeah, I mean, we get possession back to 55-45 after, again, first 20 minutes was 75-25. So Austin controlling the pace a lot better to end the half here. Biru whips a ball in here, second of stoppage, towards Owen Wolf on the right into the 18. And O'Toole trips him up. No foul called. I'm not calling for a pen here because I do think it would be soft. But I also think this is one of those instances where maybe this is called a foul anywhere but the 18 on the pitch. Because, I mean, Owen Wolf has a lane. He might not have caught up to this ball, but he gets tripped, and that's usually a foul.
I totally agree with you there.
4th minute of stoppage, you get a yellow card to John Gallagher for dragging down Santi Rodriguez, and I thought, especially on the rewatch, a good tactical foul there by John. We are not worried about him being suspended at the moment, so stopping their momentum before they can maybe get a second there before the half.
I now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I called for a tactical foul last night more than I ever have. And I think there was like 3 or 4 times I was like, yo, just take him down. Like, stop this break. So, yeah, man, I thought Johnny struggled again last night. I know that he moves around a lot and he bounces around a lot in the later part of this game. And there, that really can't be, understated how important that is for us, given how limited this team is right now. But I've just seen a decrease in the quality of the passes that he's been able to make or not able to make. But I thought this was a good foul here. Smart.
Yeah. Santi was a mess in transition.
Ridiculous, dude.
So, closing seconds of stoppage time here. Good build-up by the Verde in black. Very nice piece of hold-up play, in my opinion, that I did not see live. Caught it on the replay this morning in the build-up to this goal, but it was Zardes checking back. And you see in the second half, they flash up that distance covered graphic, and Zardes was leading the game in terms of, I think he was at that point of the match. I don't remember when it was, 4 or 5 miles, something like that. But traveled the most distance out of everybody on the pitch. Checking back to midfield here, gets it out to Alex Ring, and then everybody, again, that gives them some space, some time to push a couple numbers forward. Alex Ring, great ball to change the field from right to left here. I think this is something we have seen him do with more success in the past than this season, but still need to attempt these balls because when they work, you get a guy like Hader Obrian with a ton of space, a ton of time, able to pick out Gyasi Zardes, floating towards that back post. And then look, man, Gyasi Zardes does what he does best. Heads it back where it came from and into the back of the net to close the first half. Now we're all tied up 1-1. Gyasi's first goal on the year. And again, he hasn't had a lot of time out there relative to his past seasons, certainly throughout his career. I think it would be fair to say he hasn't had a ton of great service towards him either. Not trying to make an all-star fucking, case here or anything like that, but the man can still do this when you get him a good ball. And it's not, starter caliber or anything, but I like having Zardes around, pushing the salary aside for now. He's done well. And man, as this game concludes, he is now producing per 90 the exact same goal rate as Diego Rubio. And Diego, I don't believe, has any primary assists on the year. So if you're just looking at FOTMob, like Gyasi's the more productive per 90 player so far this season. And I do think that gap, as Diego has faded a little bit in the last 6 weeks, 2 months or so, I think that gap is fairly narrow here.
Yep. I mean, I don't have there's so many wonderful things to say about the conclusion of this half right here. Like it's just a Renaissance kind of move by Giassi where this is what he does, man. And when with that hold up play, he gets the ball, he gets it off his foot, he turns and he goes. The ball from Alex, 10 out of 10, spectacular. Can't overlook the ball from Hot Air, which I thought was one of, if not the best ball he's delivered, like service-wise in terms of a cross all season long. G does what he does best. But outside of all the things that went right here, I just really want to talk about, again, the contrast in the mentality, the body language that was going on. This was 7 minutes of stoppage time in the first half is pretty significant. And being down 1-0, we've seen this team time and time again be content kind of going into the half down 1, pulling back a little bit, playing a bit more conservative. So I was absolutely thrilled to see the continuation, to play it out till that whistle blew, and to have this go our way here, where it was just beautiful ball from Alex, beautiful ball from Hot Air, boom, goal for G. And we're right now, we're knotted up. All the momentum is back. The crowd is back. Can't say enough good things about the crowd either. Just to like this, man, I've only been to one other MLS professional stadium. And I just, the atmosphere there is absolutely incredible. And the fans are so awesome. And like, they're always there. And it's just wonderful to see. And like, to be in there with like the rain and everything going on and to get this goal. And now we're cooking and feeling great about this second half, man. I was flying high.
Yeah, man. And you think about the home field advantage, right? And I think you and I have agreed for a while now that using the term fortress for Q2 Stadium has not really been that accurate. But I will note, since the opening night disaster class, right? 6 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss at home. That's pretty darn good.
That ain't fortress, but it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very good.
Second half here, NYCFC does make a change. You get Hawk in for O'Toole. And then in the 50th minute, you get a turnover at the back from Alex Ring. Santi Rodriguez takes off on the break, continuing to be extremely dangerous. He finds Alonso Martinez wide open in on Stuver on the left side of the box, but Brad in good position, not too dissimilar from the interaction we had with Hodder and Matt Freese in the first half there, same spot in the north end. So I also think Martinez can probably do better here, but we'll take it right to the keeper.
Yep. Man, how many times have we seen somebody wide open for this Austin FC club not be able to put a really great shot on net? So like it's all across the league, and this is not a great strike by him. Good, again, anticipation by Brad to be in the right position to close off some angles and everything. But yeah, that's a save he can make in his sleep.
Yeah. I think despite the giveaway on that play here in the 52nd minute, Austin doing well in possession to start the half. Great 2-man game between Wolf and Ring, and then ultimately out to Gallagher, who pings in across from the right side. It takes a deflection, and then Obrian nearly able to slide it into the net on that back post, but ultimately goes out for a goal kick. But again, Austin threatening to start the half, and the game for a while kind of goes up and down, like chances for both teams.
Yep. I mean, look, we've been asking for these kind of line-breaking dribbles from controlling the ball from Owen, and I thought it was on full display last night with some really impressive moves that he was making in tight quarters to try to get us, into more open space and everything. So I thought he was wonderful last night.
59th minute here, and talking about the up and down, nature of this match to start the second half. Seba receives a pass in the attacking third here, ditches an attempted tackle from an NYCFC player. I don't recall who it was, but opens up a lot of space, takes another shot from maybe a little bit more than 25 yards and takes a deflection again out for another corner. So like you mentioned, right, keeping this defense honest, and both of those shots, while they did not generate a goal, get 2 corners out of it. And this is a team that struggles to get corners.
Absolutely. Get us a set piece, man. And again, it's just, it's a positive. It's a net positive for him to be taking these shots. I don't think anyone could categorize him as like an overly selfish kind of player. Right. Like, I don't think that I've ever heard that out of anyone's mouth. He's incredibly, incredibly talented, as you can see when he banished this man to the shadow realm with that move. And uncork this shot again, and it looked good, and it's
Yeah.
on the ground. This one's low. It's on the ground. Got a little skip on the turf because of the rain and all that stuff. So again, I will take these chances, and if we get lucky with some of these, wonderful. We need it.
I think with Seba, like it's not that there's been moments where I feel like he's been selfish. It's more that like it feels to me like there's moments where he tries to do too much, right?
I go ahead. Sorry. I had that thought last night, and like we've talked about hero ball before, and that it's not necessarily the greatest thing that you can, something that you can have in your arsenal repertoire in regard to being a star player. But when the team is as devoid of talent as this team really is at multiple positions, I'm okay with every now and then him just being like, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to make something happen here. And so I had that thought last night, and I was like, I understand the connotation surrounding hero ball and that kind of stuff, but with 10, he gets the pass from me. Go ahead, man. Try to make something spectacular happen. I'm for it.
So off that corner, it gets headed away, and then all of a sudden, here come the Pigeons on the counter once again. And then Hannes Wolf here taking on Brennan Hines like one-on-one as he makes his way into the box down the right. He takes a touch, cuts towards the middle, takes a shot that Stuver touches out for a corner, and then Austin ends up getting that corner out for a goal kick. But man, second half, Stuver right in front of us, he was on his P's and Q's in that second half. It was a very good half in the north end.
Totally agree. I was just about to say that I thought this is one of the most threatening attempts that they had last night because it's low. Vision is kind of blocked for Stuver. I don't know if he was able to get a clean look on it because his reaction is like, I felt like it was just like right on time where I was like, I just saw the ball and he's able to get down there and get the stop. BHI, another fantastic shift in my opinion. He just keeps surprising me, man, with his ability to play in one-on-one tight spaces and everything like that. So this was a great shot and a great save by Stuver.
68th minute here, or I think it's more like the 65th, 66th, where Johan Valencia goes down. It looked for a moment like he was grabbing his hamstring, but then the more, especially watching it on the replay, it looks like he's cramping. And so gets treatment, ends up coming off. So these subs happen in the 68th minute, ends up being a triple change here. You get the return of Julio Cascante. Hector Jimenez comes in, as does Ethan Finley. So Johan off, Obrian off, Leo off. So you put Hector Jimenez in there at right back, taking off Ethan Finley, or taking off Hodder Obrian rather, and bringing on Ethan Finley. That pushed John Gallagher to the left wing. And it was a little bit surprising for me. But to me, this is a welcome sight because I do think at some point, probably pretty soon after Mikkel Dessler is able to play, he will be the starting right back and John will be plugged in at either of the fullback positions, either wing. He's played up top for us before. So I think this is just a little preview. And again, last night we're doing it because we are still so thin on the depth chart. Not every position has a true second option, right? Especially at striker last night. But again, I just think it's a little preview of what we can see when we have a more built out team, which again, those big reinforcements are coming. Able to be active on an active roster 11 days from now and expected to play 13 days from now. It is coming up fast.
It is incredibly exciting, and I'm right there with you. This kind of like just be able to see how we're going to be able to unleash not only Johnny, but also Owen as well in multiple different positions, as well as certain game script situations where we're looking to either generate some goals or be more defensive. But look, there was some wonderful comments on the last episode about getting creative with this lineup, and I was very much of the mindset that like there's really only so much you can do here because, like you said, we don't have too many like-for-like substitutions. But I thought these three subs were fantastic. I thought it was a great call to move some guys around here and give them a bit of a different look. And Hector comes in, does his job again. Guy always brings his lunch pail to work, and it was the night of the OGs for sure. Hector, Giassi, the older guys got their flowers last night, man.
Hector, man, is
crazy.
How good has he been? Like we did our midseason grades, right? During the international break at the beginning of June. And I think we had A- for Hector. I think after last night, man, like if I was doing grades right now, he's A+.
Yeah.
He comes in, he fucking holds his own, doesn't say boo, like professional.
Yep.
He's the pros pro, former champ, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. He's been way more valuable to us on the pitch than I ever could have imagined. And he just continues, when his number is called, to be very, very solid.
I mean, when we started this season and we're looking at the roster, he gets that special designation where he's like getting college credit points for coaching.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe
the
player coach.
I was like, obviously I don't think anybody was expecting to get this level of quality out of Hector this season, but man, it's been, we've needed it. And another guy who has the veteran presence, who I'm assuming once again is a pretty powerful voice in the locker room. And I was just thoroughly impressed with him last night.
Yeah, 12 appearances now, 4 starts, I think 421 minutes out of Hector. Again, this is a guy last year, 2 appearances, 1 start, 51 minutes.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's crazy that we didn't even see him last year.
Yep. So after that triple sub, right, we're here 69th minute, and I think right here, Owen Wolff does very well to get around his defender on the near sideline from the broadcast camera, near midfield there. I don't want to leave out the fact that both Julio Cascante and Hector Jimenez were involved in this build-up to get that ball up to Owen Wolff. But on the highlights, you're going to see this move from Owen Wolff, right? And then him charging forward, progressing it up the field, and playing a very slick pass into Gyasi Zardes, who gets in behind the line. And then Gyasi picks out that back post, sneaks it past Freeze, bangs it off the post into the back of the net. 2-1 lead. Gyasi Zardes, 105th career goal, 15th career MLS brace, back into the top 10 of all-time goal scorers in league history. And Austin leading with 20 minutes to go. Place going bonkers.
Nuts.
Yes.
Man, I want to start with how impressed I was with our ability to kind of neutralize their high press. As you mentioned before, this is one of the highest pressing teams in the league who does it very often. We know the struggles of this Austin FC team in regard to being able to withstand that type of pressure. I thought we really neutralized it, and you saw that their opportunities were really more so just kind of like breakaways, change of possession, and they're out because they did have a lot of speed. I was shocked at how fast Santi was. Like, just, especially with the ball at his feet, like he was moving much faster than the other players out there. Again, I'm glad you shouted out Julio and Hector here. The move by Owen is incredible. The ball into space.
Yeah,
and this was not an easy finish. I'm watching the highlights again this morning and on the rewatch, and I thought maybe the better decision would have been to try to get across, because we have, I don't know who, I think it might have been Johnny coming up the other side of the field there, who was in a situation where we had overloaded and we actually had more guys on that side of the ball. But Gyasi kind of like creates his own angle by going wider here and then putting it back across Freeze. I thought it was an incredible goal, and it was just awesome to see.
Is that the first non-header goal from Gyasi in an Austin uniform?
I think he has like one tap in, but yes.
Okay, you might be right.
I
remember very clearly the one he banged into the net early last year. I forget against who, but it was in that south end, and it gets called back for offside. But I don't recall the other ones. But yeah, great finish, 2-1 here. Not a ton, like the rest of this game. And I guess I did want to go back to what you said about their press, because I do think as the second half wore on, that press did start to lighten up a little bit, because I think New York was starting to think, with about a half hour left, like, let's get out of here with a point. That would be on a double game week. That would be a great result for them. And then, because like, you don't see Seba on that back line like you did in the first half, right? He was almost playing like a left wing back almost at times in the buildup during the first half to, like, I think, number one, get touches for himself and try to distribute from there. But number two, just to have a sure foot at the back when that press is coming at us. And I didn't hate that, to be honest. Obviously that it kneecaps you a little bit getting into that offensive third, right? And we saw some of the frustrations from 10 last week in moments like that. But I didn't hate that adjustment in the first half. And you really see that it's not necessary in the second half because New York had adjusted.
And also, I think obviously they had some tired legs a little bit going on.
Yeah.
So I do think there's other factors outside of us just being able to withstand their press, like you talked about, potentially wanting to just get a point on the road here. You got a couple guys banged up, the tired legs. But I'm still going to give credit to this team for being able to withstand it.
Your point stands, because how many times do we get hit with the high press and we turn it over when we can't possess it? And like at the beginning of the match, that was very much going on for the first 15, 20 minutes. But they figured it out, man. And adjusting in game, that's what I say. Good teams do that. I don't know if I'm ready to call us a good team quite yet, but it was a good performance on the night. 74th minute, you get Heinz Ike going down, grabbing the back of his left knee. The official let play go on here for, I thought, a little bit longer than he should have. But Heinz Ike ends up staying in and not subbed out, plays the full 90. So I would imagine he's fine. I think most of these guys last night just kind of bumps and bruises. Didn't seem like anyone was too much worse for the wear.
Yeah, the wear and tear of the game.
Yeah. 77th minute, you get a double change. Bekrar and Ojeda in for Martinez and Wolf. So again, the depth of this roster on display. And to be honest, I don't have a ton of notes the rest of the way. There are some dangerous moments in the sense that New York has the ball in and around the Austin penalty area, but most of it, guys cleaning up loose balls, being in the right position to, again, block those shots as we've seen. When they start the match at Q2, you don't immediately get those stats on the big screen, on the Jumbotron, right? It keeps those pregame stats, which is usually just totals from the full season. And I thought it was notable that I think the numbers off the top of my head were Austin 99 block shots and New York 58.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Again, that just, to me, it highlighted just how good we have been at helping out Brad Stuver with good, compact, communication and positioning back there.
Clearly a point of emphasis that this team worked on in the offseason.
84th minute, CJ Fodre in for Guilherme Biru. Looked like Biru was maybe cramping up a little bit himself. So this pushes John Gallagher from left wing to left back. So again, good on you, Johnny. We can talk about the perceived, shortcomings at the back post that we've struggled with this year. But again, just the utility knife that he has been and will continue to be. I'm very excited for him. I mean, can you imagine fresh legs, Johnny, where we can sub him in where we need based on the game state? Same thing with Owen Wolf. Hopefully once Bukhari is here and Danny is back active, that Owen doesn't have to start and that Johnny can start. Yeah. But again, that we can just be so flexible. I cannot wait.
I can tell, brother. It's exciting times.
89th minute here. Alex Ring, the next guy to fall victim to the cramps late on in this one. Matt Hedges ends up coming in for him, moving to a back five to close this one out. I believe we got 7 minutes of stoppage as well in the second half. And I just wanted to highlight the first minute of stoppage here. Giassi Zardes has been world-class this year in his time wasting and his shit housing at the end of some of these matches, right? There was, I want to say, one of those matches in early May at home where he and Alex Ring combined to hold on to possession for 5 full minutes. He wastes about 3 minutes here, drawing a foul off of a throw-in, and then taking the ball off of that free kick to the corner, drawing another foul, and then Austin winning 2 subsequent throw-ins after that. Fantastic night from G, not just because he scored the 2 goals.
Yep. I mean, that's not something that's going to show up on the stat sheet, but it is an absolutely huge element of the game, and he's really good at it.
Yep.
He's really, really good at it.
Well, so Austin able to hold on here, 2-1 victory, 3 big points at home. And I think the one thing that I want to point out here, because I think it's only fair when the discourse around the coaching staff substitutions in a loss is very much at the forefront. They should have made subs here or there instead of what they did. And then, we saw it against LAFC where everybody was up in arms about going to a back five and acting like it never works. And man, I would say it probably works half the time, give or take, in terms of holding on to a lead or holding on to a draw when Austin has done this. But you hear and see nothing about it when it does work. And so I just wanted to give the coaching staff credit. They continue to make the decisions that, again, on paper make sense, and then the players have to go out there and execute it. And the players did so last night. So credit all around for closing this one out, because Austin was very much on the back foot through the last 15 minutes or so.
Yep. You look at the momentum tracker for that game, there's a whole lot of blue. And yeah, look, we talked about the response from the players in regard to mentality, their body language, everything, their resiliency last night. I thought that the coaching staff and the Sporting KC, KC game was piss poor. I thought some of the decisions were really bad. That again, like we talked about with the post-game press conference in regard to having the guys mentally prepared, like you're the one who gets them ready to walk out of the locker room, and that's when you have control over that situation. So I thought this response from the coaching staff as well should not go overlooked, and that they did a very, very good job. I just don't understand, what else would you want to do in that situation? Like, would you not want to have 5 primary defenders in the game to try to close this out? You know, when you saw the LAFC game, that was their only shot. Man, like that was from a goal. He's like, what? He's the second leading goal scorer of all time. Kai Kamara is, like it was a hell of a play. Like, and sometimes you got to tip your hat. So it's not always going to be like, hey, we're bringing you in, and once we do that, we are guaranteed to win this game. It's like, no, man, you got to make the right decision with the cards that you have and are able to play. So I thought it was a good call as well.
Well, it's also a response. I missed this in the notes because I was so excited to talk about Johnny moving to his third position of the night. But Mijatovic, right, the $8 million 18-year-old striker comes in for Keaton Park. So that's not like for like. So we're also adjusting to what the opponent is doing. They put more attackers in. So I think sometimes that's a smart idea to try to match up defensively.
Yes,
I know you agree.
Straightforward.
46% possession for Austin, 14 shots to 9 in favor of the Pigeons. 4 shots on target apiece, however, and then Austin 3 big chances, 2 missed. So I imagine Hodder is one of those big chances, and I don't think I can think of the second one.
I don't know either. I'm also kind of curious about their shot totals. I'm wondering if in that first half where they have that kind of cross from the young Slovenian who got subbed on, if that counted as a shot, if that registered as a shot because it hit the crossbar. And then they have that one in the second half as well where Stuver goes up high. But also that kind of looks, it was giving me cross vibes.
Yeah, I don't think, looking at the FOTMOB model here, that they credit Ilinic with either of those, because I was going to say he does one in each half, right? Where I don't think he's shooting those, but they end up floating up and hitting off the hit off the bar in the first half, and then Stuver got a touch to the one in the second half. But yeah, it was just very much, I think, in that last 15 minutes or so, you get 11 of the 14 NYCFC shots in the second half.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So 5 corners apiece here, and then on FOTMOB's XG model, it was 1.13 for Austin to 1.67 for New York. But then you go to, again, my favorite metric here, expected goals on target, 2.09 for Austin, 1.58 for New York, and that feels right to me. Again, I think our 2 goals were very deserved, and I think 1.58 for them, leaning towards that 2 number. If they would have scored 2 goals last night off some of those chances they had, I think they would have deserved it as well. So again, you get a little bit of luck involved here, falls our way last night, and we will take it and keep moving now up to 30 points in the table here, E. And you take a look at the table. I don't think we need to bring it up here and have a discussion that's too lengthy on the table, because again, this is going to shift significantly, I think, or has the potential to, at least, with all of the Western Conference games going on here on Sunday night. But as things stand right now, Austin FC sitting in 9th place, so back up into a wild card position, tied on points with 7th place Portland and 8th place Houston, 4 points back of the 4 seed in Colorado. So you've got 12 matches remaining in the regular season. You need 15 points to get to that 45-point mark, which I think over the last handful of years, a significant sample size, would absolutely at least get you into a wild card spot.
I want a playoff game, man. I don't know. I just want one so bad. And, I'm looking at the gap and the distance that had somewhat shortened between the teams that were outside of the playoff picture and then us after that terrible SKC loss here. So give yourself a little breathing room. Again, we're right where we want to be. It's going to be a wild ride to finish this out. The highs and lows of this season have been quite drastic. Like last year was just a whole lot of lows. But this season, we've seen this team look really great and look absolutely terrible like they did versus SKC, and then bounce back with a game like this, a gritty kind of win, which again, when we talked about the intangibles that this team has to have, and having that mentality of always having your back up against the wall because you're really just not that good. You saw that stuff on display last night. You get the fortunate kind of luck that is always involved in every single game. It goes at some point, it seems to always even itself out with the duration of this season, the amount of bullshit that can happen, the amount of bullshit that can go your way. So, I'm just, once again, happy to say that I'm very proud of this team and very proud to be rooting for this club in a great response win at home at the Q. So happy to be back.
I mean, we've also got, a very even split schedule here. We've got 6 home matches remaining, 6 road matches remaining. So not tilted against us, not tilted for us either. And we are on pace currently for a touch over 46 points. So again, you keep this pace that this team has produced through 22 matches, you get into the playoffs. And again, we're all of the mind, right, that these 3 players coming in are going to boost this team's floor, boost this team's ceiling. So huge 3 points. And we'll keep it rolling.
Yes, sir.
So a couple quotes from last night. Jesse Zardes, this from Phil West's Verde All Day Substack. Jesse Zardes talking about last night. He said, whether I start or whether I come off the bench, I'm going to give it my all. I support every decision that the coach is making. I'm just going to work hard whether I'm starting or coming off the bench. I was fortunate to get the start today, and I just have to keep going, keep working hard, keep doing whatever is asked of me. I'm a team player, and I've always been. He also said, I've been trying to score since the first game of the season. It hasn't come, but I've observed many strikers in the past that were in my position and didn't score until later in the season. You have to keep your head down and keep working and showing up. The goals came tonight, and I have to keep my head down and keep working so more goals can come. And how can you not love Jesse Zardes?
I'm just literally just about to say I love this man so much. That is literally a 10-10 perfect response. Not getting too high on the fact that he scored 2 goals last night, and not getting too low on the fact that he had not opened up the old goal bank account this season. Just controlling what he can control, going out there, playing hard, doing his job, trusting in the coaching staff. I absolutely love this man. I know that we give him some a little bit of jokes in regard to the salary that he is getting, but that's not his fucking fault. Like, right. You offer somebody $1 million to play soccer, they're going to take it, especially if there's not a huge market for him. So like, I know that it's a low hanging fruit kind of joke that you can do that. But again, this guy is just the consummate professional, just an absolutely wonderful human being, in my opinion.
Couple quotes from Coach Wolf. He said, you look at the entire 90 minutes, the guy's resiliency, the character, the spirit was incredible. And once we got a hold of the game, we created a lot of chances. You can see when we get leggy, we don't have a ton of subs to come in and really affect the game. So we got to hang in there, and the guys continue to do that. And I agree, man. And again, I think certainly it would have been fair in the opening minutes of this match, going down early on, and the way that it happened, the way it unfolded, to say, well, here we go again. This is not much of a, there's not much of a difference from what we saw last weekend. But again, that's why you play the full match. You don't overreact in a situation like that. And again, you look at the full picture of the match. I agree wholeheartedly with Coach there. The resiliency, the character was there. It was present, and it was enough to get it over the line.
We need it, man. Like I said, like I keep saying it. Those are the intangibles, the characteristics that this team has to have in order to be successful this season. And thus far, they have shown it more often than not. And that's why we are in the position that we are in right now.
Coach also let something slip, maybe, because he said this. We'll just go through this. He said, we want to stay in the playoff hunt. When we get these 3-4 guys that can help us with our last 8 or 9 games, we believe that can give us a good final push. So look, did he just off the cuff maybe say, we got 3 or 4 guys coming in, yada, yada? Because, technically Jimmy also came in very recently to being a first team player. So technically we've got 4 guys already that are new additions here this summer. But could it also be just a slip that Josh knows there is a 4th player coming in or very, very close to being signed and just, questions coming at him, just talking, running his mouth. He says 3 or 4 players. I don't know. I mean, these are the types of crumbs that we love to pick up and speculate on. So I choose to believe, again, as he's hinted at a little bit before, that Roto's not done here. Maybe a U22, even a DP striker. Again, that's high on my wish list.
Yeah. I mean, look, man, if you look at the way this team is currently constructed, and then now you see the Svatok signing coming in, there's too many center backs on the team. So I am absolutely anticipating some sort of move in regard to getting potentially one of those guys out of here and bringing somebody else in. We obviously understand and know that the TAM ability of buying Alex Ring buying Alex Ring down is still in play. So I am of the mindset that a Roto is not done cooking.
I know this is just a pipe dream. This is just me playing trade machine, but Hedges and Gam for Leo Campana, make it fucking happen, man. Is Miami maybe in need of some center backs? They get dubbed 6-1 last night at the hands of FC Cincinnati. So look, no Suarez, no Messi. Jordi Alba was also suspended last night, but let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's use that. Let's use that as the prime case example for taking on Matt Hedges.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else for you on this game before we move on?
Nope.
All right. So we did have the FC match at Palmer Field on Friday. But before we get into last business day, let's check in on
the best keeper in the world.
Damian Loss, Louisville City, last night took on Oakland Roots SC on the road, but I believe we missed last weekend. I don't think we talked about Damian Loss in our rage, in our frustration after that Sporting KC match. So Louisville City does get a 4-1 win on the road last weekend. So to close out the month of June, Damian Loss in that one obviously conceded the 1 goal, but also made 4 saves in that one, 3 of them diving saves. So it looked like there was a potential for some highlight plays there in that one from Damian. But then last night against Oakland, they go down 1-0, and I'm gonna let our friend Trevor Allison, who sent a Damian update from this game, take it away here. He said, I was watching 2 other games at the time, so this isn't the most super detailed recap, but Damian did not have a ton to do. He saw 8 shots total, only 2 on target, made 2 fairly routine saves, got beat by a great shot from 12 yards or so that hit off the woodwork and stayed out, was very fast and aggressive coming out of the goal when needed, all successful. Distribution was decent, but wasn't asked to do much. The 1 goal came from a good through ball where Damian closed out the receiving player, and that player was just barely able to send it square before Damian arrived. The shot itself was weird in that the pass was hit so hard that it basically bounced off the legs of the goal scorer into the open net. He says, again, I'm not a goalkeeping expert, but I think the Oakland player made a good play more than it was Damian doing anything wrong. Overall, a pretty good game for Loss. Still working on aggression level when the ball gets behind the back line. So the 1-0 loss there on the road. You take a look at the table. Louisville City still in first place in the USL Championship, 38 points from their 18 matches. So this is really the first period of kind of up and down play we've seen from Louisville of late. They have gone loss, win, loss, win, loss over their last 5. But again, Damian still, what we want to see is those minutes, right? And the fact that he's getting them, and we're getting reports from Trevor that even in the loss, he was pretty solid. You love to see it. Keep going, Damian.
Yeah, absolutely. You love to see it. We need reps out of them. You just love to see Trevor contributing here with a kind of like, we're going to have to start offering health insurance packages. We got Uncle F, we got Uncle Dave as the unofficial videographer for the North End, also
Yeah.
road correspondent
Yeah.
from every now and then. So,
Yep.
we get these updates. So I don't know. We're going to have to figure out some sort of Medicare
Yep.
package for these folks.
Well, let's talk about Austin FC 2. Real Monarchs was coming to town. Again, this is a team that beat the absolute brakes off of us up there at their place about a month ago. So revenge spot here for Verdos, and starting lineup in this one. Not a ton of surprises, especially with the first team match being the next day. You do see CJ active on the bench there. Jimmy gets the start up top alongside Michael Burton, Sebastian Pignot, midfield of Steve Louis-Jean, Alonso Ramirez, and Bobasi Biarhuanga. Then the back line, De Anda on the left, Sal and Tony in the middle, Sheikh Touré out there on the right, Marcus Alstrup in net. Bench of Cervantes, Wolf, Anthony Garcia, Miller, Bonachera, Ariano, Avarca, Torres, and of course, CJ Fodre. In this one, I think you tuned in a little bit late to it. The big moment, I would say big moments in the first half. First, I thought I was going crazy because I thought we had another Bobo goal, but then they end up calling him offside. And then just a few minutes later, you get Anthony De Anda with the first of two huge goal line clearances last night. And like specifically on the second half one, the way I took that in from De Anda, like the Monarchs is up pressuring us. They're trying to get back into the game late on. And Alstrip gets beat down the left side or left coming towards our goal. So Anthony's on the opposite side. And I can only deem this as just great soccer IQ, the recognition that he has to come in here and get Marcus's back as the ball is trickling past him, clears it out for a corner. So to save two sure goals on the night, one of Anthony's best games, in my opinion. Love to see that out of De Anda, especially because he's one of our homegrown guys, right?
Yeah.
So the decision is coming soon, whether it's a year or 2 years out for guys like De Anda, guys like Ariano, guys like Irvin Torres, right? Because even if you're not ready, I believe once you hit 18, as a guy like Micah Burton did, then you run the risk, if you don't sign them to that first team homegrown deal, you run the risk of losing those guys. So you love to see it out of our homegrowns having big time game changing performances like this.
Absolutely, man. It's good as a goal. Like these are massive, massive plays. I'm just happy to see this team actually healthy and mostly fleshed out with the players that we anticipated being impact players going into this season.
Yeah, no question. You do get 0-0 going into the half. So we get CJ to start the second half, and he ends up opening the scoring. He draws a penalty, getting dragged down in the box there, and then he steps up, of course, converts that penalty for the 1-0 lead. And then, look, man, Alonso Ramirez is having himself a summer because the work he did with and for the first team in June was big time for a guy who, again, I don't believe has played at that level dating back to, his parent club is Atlas down there in Mexico. But off this free kick here from, 20, 22 yards out, something like that, just filthy, scores the goal right past the keeper, turns around, celebration. And, because he's so muted with his celebrations and his emotions. And so it's just calm, cool, collected. You love to see it. 2-0, and that ends up being the final score. FCito gets the shutout at home.
First home win of the season?
First home win of the season, Ian. It's July 5th, so much needed. Hey, we pulled the must-win lever on Wednesday's episode. The guys come through. You love to see it. Now on 18 points through their 15 matches played, up to 1 win, 4 draws, and 3 losses at home. But again, 18 points, now just 5 points back of that final playoff spot. So it is the first step in many that need to be taken the rest of the way here. I believe we have 13 matches remaining. So some of those matches sure to be against the teams we are in direct competition with for those final couple playoff spots. So again, you can string a win or two here together, and that's going to put you in position to be in the mix the rest of the year. So I'm pumped to see this team, in a playoff battle where last year we're battling for the 1 seed, right? Yeah. This year we're battling for our postseason lives, our postseason hopes. So very different fight, but going to be fun watching these guys to the finish. And man, we got to get out to the pitch. It's been a while since we went to a game.
Very true. And well said. You got to take that first step, and it started right here. We said this was a must-win game. They went out and they got the job done. 2 awesome plays by 2 of our best players there was CJ and Lonzo, man. And you see the physicality of CJ, the presence that he has is just, it just continues to make me excited about the future for that kid. And you see Alonzo, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to find a spot for him long-term here. I really don't.
Atlas might want him back. Yeah, absolutely. He's on loan still.
But just to see his growth, and to me, he really flipped the switch in the playoffs last season, and he has just rode that and continued to be such a fantastic player for this team. And you saw him get some first team minutes as well, and I thought that he looked quite fine out there. It looked like he belonged. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh shit, who's this kid who is in over his head? He's been great, and this is one of the best free kick goals that I've seen from the FC2 level ever. So, just hats off to both those guys and the whole team. And I'm glad you shouted out Deonda for those impressive defensive plays as well. It's going to take a full team effort to get this team back into that mix for the playoff hunt, like you mentioned there. So I'm all for it, and we'll be rooting for you boys. Let's keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, hey, great. Again, Deonda had Marcus's back there. Marcus did make 2 saves. You get the clean sheet for the defense. So Sal and Tony, Cheick Toure, who was aggressive on the offensive end as he often is. Great team performance. And we want to keep it rolling because we are going to Houston on Thursday to take on Dynamo Dos. So that one is 7 p.m. on Thursday. We'll preview that match on Wednesday's episode.
A notoriously heated matchup.
Oh, they get after it. Multiple games with red cards between these 2 teams.
Two teams that definitely do not like each other.
Closing things out here with the nonsense. I'm slacking a little bit on the best ball calculations here, E. We've got a midweek score to get out there. We've got a weekend score to get out there. I see you shrugging your shoulders because we don't have much hope.
We score more than 20?
Yeah, we'll see. But the bets, we did take a slight loss in the midweek picks, but still coming into Saturday and Sunday's matches, plus 6.56 units on the season. And we had a good start on Saturday night, E, because who was the cover boy of the bets article this week? Yeah, it was Giassi Zardes. And goddamn did I hover over that Giassi brace at plus 2,000 and chickened out and clicked Driussi. Would have been nice to get the brace for G, but we'll take that goal at plus 260. We got a Cucho goal as well. We bet on Austin at plus 185 to win, and we picked up Cincinnati minus 135 in the 6-1 beatdown of Miami. So good start to the weekend, and we'll see how these Sunday games turn out.
Absolutely. You send me the bets articles for revisions or corrections, anything that, might need to be cleaned up a little bit there. And I saw the cover, and I was like, the first thing I could just feel it. I was like, this man is about to take the Giassi brace here. And, I'd be lying if I said I was overly confident, before the game that could happen. But it was great, man.
Yeah. Can't chicken out, man. Gotta follow that feeling.
Yeah.
90 minutes of G. We'll get them in there. So we'll finish up that nonsense, best ball, more picks on Wednesday's episode. Anything else for you before we get out of here on episode 157?
Marcos, good to see you, man. Glad you're okay.
Yes, great to see Marcos. And again, all of our other friends at Q2 last night. We'll be back there on Saturday, the next 2 Saturdays. And then again, Leagues Cup coming up after that. So we're going to be seeing a lot of each other in and around Q2, hopefully with more wins to come. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 157. We're back on Wednesday previewing Austin FC's match against the Seattle Sounders, previewing FC To's match against Dyna Dos, and of course talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. you know we'll do the same. And we'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, he's E. I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.